From the time of his boyhood in a Bengali village, Abanindranath Ghosh felt the power of the written word. He first felt this power when reading the life of Sri Chaitanya. The account of Chaitanya's devotion to Krishna moved the boy to tears. By the age of 14, Abanindra had been introduced to Sri Ramakrishna and his disciples through the pages of another book, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. 3 years later, Abanindra made his first visit to Belur the headquarters of the Ramakrishna order. Suddenly he found himself among many of the great personalities he had read about in the Gospel. He came to know the actor and playwright Girish Ghosh and the recorder of the Gospel, Mahendranath Gupta. He formed affectionate relationships with several of Ramakrishna's direct monastic disciples. One of them, Swami Brahmananda, would become his guru. After receiving his bachelor's degree in philosophy from Calcutta University, Abanindra joined the Ramakrishna order in 1914. 7 years later, he took his final monastic vows and received the name by which the world would know him, Swami Prabhavananda. 2 years later, the young Swami, now 29 years old, was sent to America to bring the teachings of Vedanta to the West. After serving for 2 years at the Vedanta Society in San Francisco, Swami Prabhavananda was deemed ready to head his own center. He established the Vedanta Society of Portland in 1925. 4 years later, he founded the Vedanta Society of Southern California in Hollywood. Under his dynamic leadership, the society would become the largest in the Western world, and Hollywood would remain his lifelong home. During his time in San Francisco and Portland, the young Swami began reaching out to a wide public through published articles and essays. From the beginning, his writings presented the profound spiritual knowledge of India to Western readers in a way that could be easily understood. Given Swami Prabhavananda's high regard for the written word, it seems fitting that talented writers began to gather around him in Hollywood. First came Frederick Manchester, a professor of English literature at Occidental College. During the 1930s, Manchester and his colleague Percy Houston assisted the Swami with his first full-scale book, The Spiritual Heritage of India. Strangely, the manuscript was mislaid for more than 20 years and published only in 1962. It won recognition for the clarity, scholarship, and spiritual authority that by then had become the hallmark of Swami Prabhavananda's literary production. Of Manchester's several collaborations with the Swami, the finest is a translation of the ancient Upanishads. Being thousands of years old, the Upanishads present steep challenges to any translator. The combination of Manchester's poetic sense and the Swami's scholarship and spiritual insight was more than equal to the task. The Upanishads, Breath of the Eternal, appeared in print in 1947. No other version, before or since, has managed to convey with such simple beauty the essence of these profound scriptures.
Yujeva Brahma Purvyam Namobhir Vishloka Etu Patyeva Surehi.
Hear, all ye children of immortal bliss, also ye gods who dwell in the high heavens, follow only in the footsteps of the illumined ones, and by continuous meditation merge both mind and intellect in the eternal Brahman.
Swami Prabhavananda had come to America to bring the teachings of Vedanta to the West. Very different circumstances brought 3 notable British writers to California in the late 1930s. Gerald Heard, Aldous Huxley, and Christopher Isherwood came to the United States as the clouds of war gathered in Europe. The 3, all avowed pacifists, sought refuge in America, but as they were to discover, inner peace proved elusive. Often they felt at odds with the world gone mad around them. Gerald Heard was the first to discover Vedanta. He met Swami Prabhavananda in 1939 and soon introduced his friend Huxley and then Isherwood to the Swami. One of Hurd's dreams was to establish a community of intellectuals and spiritual seekers devoted to pacifist ideals. In 1940, he founded Trabuco College in Orange County as a home for like-minded men and women. Modeled on the monastic discipline of the Benedictine order, Hurd's noble experiment lasted for only 7 years. Later, the college's trustees deeded the Trabuco property to the Vedanta Society, and it became the Ramakrishna Monastery in 1949. In England, Hurd had lectured at Oxford University and had been a BBC commentator on popular science. He was an eloquent speaker, and his frequent lectures drew overflow crowds to the Vedanta Temple in Hollywood. His message consisted of a potent blend of mysticism, Christianity, and modern science, all united within the framework of traditional yoga psychology. Aldous Huxley, like many other British intellectuals of the time, bore the psychological wounds created by the horror and futility of World War I. Thought to be the war to end all wars, it had in fact awakened humanity to the magnitude of its own destructive power and brutality. Huxley struggled to come to terms with his feelings through the characters of his novels. The personalities he created embody the themes of loss of belief, of disillusionment with God, society, and morality. Coming to Vedanta, Huxley found a way to inner peace through mysticism. At the library Gerald Hurd had assembled at Trabuco College, Huxley imbibed the great mystical teachings of the East and West and compiled them in a book. When The Perennial Philosophy appeared in print at the end of World War II, the New York Times called it the masterpiece of all anthologies, and perhaps, at this time, the most needed book in the world. From the beginning, Christopher Isherwood was drawn to Swami Prabhavananda's unpretentious charm and simplicity. Soon a lifelong bond was formed between guru and disciple, and within 4 years Isherwood became a resident at the Vedanta Society. Already well known in Europe as a novelist, he turned his full attention at this time to spiritual writing. Soon he was collaborating with Swami Prabhavananda on a translation of the Bhagavad Gita. The Swami would translate the Sanskrit literally, and Isherwood would freely refashion the words into a blend of powerful prose and poetry along the lines of an Old English epic. The outcome was stunning. Here was one of Hinduism's greatest spiritual messages, suddenly transformed into great English literature. Published in 1944 to widespread critical acclaim, the Prabhavananda Isherwood Gita went on to establish itself as a modern classic. The Bhagavad Gita relates the moral dilemma of Arjuna, a warrior facing the outbreak of civil war. He despairs at seeing so many friends and relatives in the two opposing armies and shrinks from fighting. Here, a passage read by Mr. Isherwood conveys Arjuna's frame of mind, and no doubt Isherwood's own.
Krishna, I see such omens of evil. What can we hope from this killing of kinsmen? What do I want with victory, empire, or their enjoyment?
Krishna, Arjuna's charioteer, is none other than God incarnate, who uses the occasion to deliver the Gita's sublime message. In the end, Isherwood, the pacifist, discovered that the Gita neither sanctions nor condemns war. It teaches that at any given moment we are the sum total of our past actions. As long as we continue to act with the desire for results, we are bound. But we must act. Our very nature will force us to do so. The secret is that we are free to choose how to act. Acting out of desire or fear keeps us bound. Acting with complete detachment sets us on the path to enlightenment, and ultimately our true wisdom frees us from bondage.